Hey everyone, so in this video we are going to take a look at a game that I'm currently working on. So this is a little bit different than what I normally do. Usually when I post a tutorial, we'll start from scratch and then I show you layer by layer how to make it. Kind of doing the opposite here. This is more of a dev blog where I'm showing you where I currently am and we're going to back out a few things. We're basically kind of deconstruct this, so to speak. Sounds fancier than what it really is. We're just going to kind of peel back the layers so you can see how this works. So definitely not introductory like I normally do. This is definitely more intermediate. This is for someone who really understands the individual components and the individual objects and might just be having some trouble putting it all together. So what are we looking at? We are looking at an upgrade screen. So call it upgrade menu, whatever. You would encounter this in between waves, and this is how you upgrade your character who you can see in the background there. So you can see there's several columns as primary weapon, scatter shot, mortar. And what this is telling you what the attribute is that you're going to upgrade, and then this bar will fill up as you upgrade it. So for instance, if you click on upgrade, you will see the shot speed increase. Okay, so you're really doing two things. One, you're changing a variable that will be used to decide how much of this should be filled in. And two, that same variable will be actually applied to the velocity of the shot, thereby changing the shot speed. Don't worry, we'll show you that in a minute. I just want to do an overview of what we got here. Same thing for upgrading rate of fire. And then we're about to do this one now because rather than trying to explain those, I'll just show you this as we do it. So what do we got? Well, we have a UI, we have a canvas, okay? And for this to work, you absolutely have to use GameObject UI and then the UI version of these. If I try using a non-UI text or a non-UI image, it doesn't work. You have to use these. And once you create the first UI object, you'll see this canvas appear and the event system. Not worried about the event system in this tutorial. So the canvas will appear, which is what you see before you, and then it's just a matter of adding additional objects. So like for instance, you've got some buttons here. Everything that says upgrade is a button. So that's game object, UI, and then button, so on and so forth. Okay. What we've got here for primary weapon, there's actually three objects. There's a translucent gray background to show you the meter. There is another object overlaid on top of it. That's the green that fills it up. And then there's the text that reads shot speed, which is overlaid on top of that. So how does this work? Well, let's click on the upgrade button for this one that we haven't done anything with yet. And I'm going to go through a minor rant, and if you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me say it before. How Unity set up buttons in the UI is completely and utterly baffling why they did this. It is totally counterintuitive. So we've clicked on the button object. Here's the button component within that object. See how it says on click? You have to click on the plus sign, and then you have to put an object here. That object has to have a script attached, and then the public functions from that script will then show up over here. Absolutely nuts. I have no idea why they did that, but that's what we're stuck with. So we take the garage GM object and we put it there. And then if you take a look at this object, you can see it's got the garage UI script. And if we go to the garage UI script, you'll see these are the custom public functions I made. Load village, upgrade shot speed, upgrade state, upgrade rate of fire. So village, speed, fire. Okay. So we go back to our button. We added this here. What do we see? There's the script I was just pointing at. Upgrade speed, fire, and village. So all the functions I just told you. So that's how you associate a function with a button click. I already ranted, so I'm not going to rant anymore. Just can't stand that they set it up this way. It's completely counterintuitive. Anyways, so what we want to do, that one is stun chance, okay? So we don't have one for stun chance yet. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the garage UI because again, that's what's attached to this and that's what's showing up on the button. And we're going to create a new function. So we're going to type public void, and we'll call this upgrade stun. You could call this upgrade stun chance. The verbiage doesn't really matter as long as you're not using something that's pre-existing. And what we're going to do, we're going to change a variable. Remember how I said that when you click on the upgrade button, you're not just increasing a meter, you're actually taking a variable that will be used functionally, okay? Well, over here, it's that variable, stun chance. So actually, yeah, so that's fine. So the names don't match. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a reference to that variable and we're going to increase it. So since it's declared in GameFlow, we have to type out GameFlow. So we have to tell where that variable is declared. And it is stun chance. And we'll say plus equals 1. So it's a 1% increase. That is completely arbitrary. You can make your stun chance be whatever you want. This is just meant to show you the broad strokes of how this works. Okay, so we save that, and now we go back to our button. So we got our upgrade button, okay? We attached our object. We can access the attached script. We go to that script, and now upgrade's done. See how it added that function. And so now we click on upgrade stun. So when we click on upgrade stun, we are now changing that variable, and then that variable then will have to be applied to the calculation. That I'm not going to show you because that's going to vary with your game, okay? This is just about making the UI and how the UI both updates itself, such as the meters, and changes a variable that's then used in a calculation. How you use that, that's up to you in your project, okay? But that's what you would do. You would take this variable and you use it in some calculation to determine if the enemy is stunned, okay? So what do we need to do now? Well, what we need to do, we now need the meter to change. So this is the corresponding meter. You can see I already named it stun chance, okay? And that is the translucent gray box behind it. So stun chance. And what you can see is that when you add an image, so what I did is I used the fuel image here. I dragged it and dropped it onto source image. Let me just redo it, actually. Let's go to none so you can see it. So as you can see, some of the options disappeared. So if I take this image and I put it there, you get image type. Okay. It remembered what we chose. You will usually default to simple. You want it to be filled, and then you choose how you want it to be filled. This also actually defaults, I think, to radial, so you need to change it to horizontal, and we want it to fill in from the left. Now I'm just going to move this slider so you can see what happens. This is the fill amount. See how it's changing? Let me zoom in a little bit more. Well, that's what we're doing. We're taking that variable and we're applying it to the image component and this criteria within the image component, okay? So 0 is it's completely not filled. 1 is it's completely filled. So now what we want to do, now that we've done that, we now need, so the stun chance image, we need it to be updated whenever you hit upgrade, okay? So this does not have a script attached to it yet, so that's what it needs. So if you look at the other ones like rate of fire, it has the Garage UI script, so the same script that we've been looking at, okay? So we go back to stun chance, we take our Garage UI script, and we go back there. And what you can see is in the update section, I'm updating the fill amount to various objects. Those are the first two. So it's just rinse and repeat. So I'm just going to copy this because I'm lazy. So if game object is stun chance, so if the name is stun chance, and by the way, if you're looking for a game object name, you can only use this if the object is in the scene when the object is first created. If you're instantiating prefabs, you can't do this because what happens is the prefab will have the word clone attached to it. So if you're instantiating objects, don't use gameObject.name, use tag. I'm not going to get into that right now. I already have other videos showing you how to use tag. Anyways, so what we're doing is we're saying get component image. So again, this is the inspector for that object. Here's the image component. We're drilling down to fill amount. We looked at fill amount. Okay. We're going to take the bonus rate and we're going to divide it by 4. Why 4? Because I said that we were going to use 4 upgrades. So if you say, hey, I want 10 upgrades, great. Then this would just be 10. Or you could say, oh, I want 2 upgrades. Then it'd be 2. So this is the amount of upgrades, and it kind of makes sense because you're dividing the meter, you're dividing the image into the amount of times that you want it to be modified. Well, we want it to be modified 4, so we're going to divide this by 4. Since this is the number 1, 1 out of 4 is a quarter, 2 out of 4 is half, so on and so forth. Okay. So that's why using the number 1 works out so good, because it makes this really easy to turn this into a fraction. Okay, to turn it into a percentage of the fill amount. Now, if you decide that the number 1 doesn't work, that you would have to make too many changes, you can then use whatever number you want, but just remember that it needs to be divisible into this. So if the increment you're using is 2 and you want there to be 4, then you'd have to do it by 8. So again, 2 divided by 8 is 1 quarter. 4 divided by 8 is 1 half. Okay, so hopefully I didn't lose anyone. I kind of stumbled with that. But again, this is the denominator, is the amount of times that you want to break this up into pieces. And when I say this, I mean the image, the meter. All right, so this script is attached to this object. It's saying if the name of the object is stun chance, and it is, then the fill amount is going to be this variable. Okay, we need to change it because I copied this one, so we need to use the stun chance here. So one of the pitfalls of copying and pasting, you have to make sure you change everything that you need to. So we said that the fill amount will be set to this number, and we divide it by 4. And if I didn't forget anything, that should work. Let me just click on the upgrade. And yes, it says I chose upgrade stun. Okay. Sure enough, it works. Okay, and so I think that's almost it. We're going to do one more thing. So if you notice here, once you've spent your points, and again, I haven't added the points yet, so you'd have to put a check in there. Maybe I'll do, if this video does well, I'll do a follow-up where I say, okay, here's how you strict it based on points, that kind of thing. But this will load into the scene. So let's just save the changes. Check the script, make sure there's no asterisks. If you see like a little asterisk next to the name, it tells you didn't save it. Okay. So first, we're not going to make any changes. So we click here. It loads the scene. There's your guy. And if you left click, you can see the speed in which it travels. Okay. So now we're going to run this again, but this time we're going to do the upgrades. We'll do 4 upgrades. And now, see, it's much faster. So just like that, you both have a UI and you modify the game itself. So you're doing both. You're making the changes to what the UI shows and this. And when you beat the wave and you come back here, this should automatically show the right amount. Why? Because this is the value that's being used to fill it, okay? And this is the static variable. This does not change unless you expressly change it. That's one of the great things about static variables. So static variables tend to be used things for like players' HP, players' total experience, things like that, completed quests, anything that you do not want to get reset. So if you go to another scene, those things do not get reset. Obviously, if you shut it off, they get reset. So you then have to go one step further and have a save file. That's way beyond the scope of this. We're not getting to save files. I just want to show you how to create an upgrade UI. So I think that's about the only meaningful information I have to provide. I'll say one quick thing though. So we said that when you have a button, you attach a script. Again, it's that same object and it's that same script. It's this load village. You can see it says load village. So scene manager dot load scene and then the name of the scene, and the name of the scene is indeed village. Like if I click on scenes here, village, it's loading that. The reason why I'm calling this out is because for this to work, you need this. So if you're typing, Unity will not recognize what this means, what scene manager means, if you don't have scene management here. Likewise, Unity Engine UI, that's necessary if you want to address the image or the text or any other UI object. So I think that's probably the last thing I want to call out is make sure you have the proper namespaces. I believe those are called the proper namespaces, and it's looking. You need to add those, or else it won't give you access to the image or to the scene manager. Okay, so that's about it. I hope that you found this useful. Please let me know in the comments. So I definitely would like to know if the video was helpful. Do you like this format? Sometimes people tell me that I go too slow. Other times people tell me go too fast. And I realize that that's subjective. It's based on the person who's watching the video. So let me know if maybe you want to see a mix, if you'd like to see some more like this. Because in this case, like I said, rather than starting from scratch, you can see what the end state looks like, and we kind of peel back and show you how it works. Although this isn't quite the end state. Like I said, I got to add points, and I might do some other things like when I click on upgrade, maybe I'll have like a visual effect around that part of the enemy. I mean the player rather. Maybe there'll be an upgrade for armor, so maybe there'll be another category that says like hit points or armor, so maybe the armor would change. So again, it's a work in progress, but at least here it gives you something to visualize. It gives you something you can look at and determine if this is what you'd like to do. So again, let me know if the video was helpful, and please enjoy the rest of your day.